All right. So on Monday, today, you're very busy. You have a touch base with Anna.
Oh, is she coming here? Or are we doing virtual?
It's virtual.
Okay.
And then you have somebody that came to the Nobody Cares series.
Oh, geez. He sent me a plant.
Is that who sent you the plant?
Yes.
I have to follow up with Lauren about that. I don't know where this plant is.
He said it's a really special plant. This guy, just for
told.
anybody here, this guy's shown up at 2 Nobody Cares events. And every time what did he tell me? He works, he's a teacher? No, he works.
He's a teacher and he's the founder and editor of like this like magazine.
He's creating this startup and he really wants me to pay attention to it. So first time he showed up, he gave me a manila envelope and it was like, you got to look at my business idea. And then last week he showed up and was like, I'm sorry, it was too glossy. So I sent you a plant. And I was like, good luck for me ever getting the plant. But he seemed like a nice guy. So we're gonna give him 30 minutes.
Yeah. Then we have the home tours
meeting.
For
Great.
Schoolhouse. Yes. We have a
meeting with the recruiters.
Recruiters, yep. A few programming meetings.
Oh, we got a big ad sales meeting.
Yeah. And then you have a really long one-on-one with our head of people. And then you have an event at NYU.
Oh, shit, I'm teaching a class at NYU.
Yeah.
I love this class. This is actually really fun. I love that class.
As I said, this is how many times have you done it?
I've done this every year for like 5 years, maybe 5 or 6 years.
Wow.
It's fun. Teaching a class?
So we'll talk about it here. So Greg Coleman worked at Huffington Post, and then he worked at AOL, which he hated, which we talk about every time I go there. And he also worked at BuzzFeed. He was, I believe, the COO or CRO of BuzzFeed, like big media guy. Started teaching a class at NYU, and he's very, very networked, very smart, very thoughtful, very networked. And the class is like a who's who of media. So he would, like, when BuzzFeed was big, he had Jonah Peretti. When, he gets Tim Armstrong, he gets Jeff Zucker, he gets like a who's who of men in media, I guess. And then somehow I find my way in there. So it's been great. I actually love this class. So anyway, he does a nice job where it's actually smart, where he just brings, I don't know how much he actually has to do. He just brings in guest speakers every week. But the kids love the class. And I think they get a lot out of it. Like the assistant, how they have like the kids who are kind of pseudo teachers. I forget what they're called.
Like a TA.
TAs. They introduce you. They do all the prep.
Oh,
it's actually very cool.
Fun.
It makes me think I could be a professor.
You should. I think you'd be
At
good
some
that.
point. I don't have the
Weren't your
patience.
parents
My dad was a professor. My mom's a teacher.
Was he a professor his whole, like most of his
No,
career?
he was like a teacher. He was a math teacher, and then he was a principal, an assistant
grade?
principal.
Oh, wow.
What grade did he teach
But
math?
I don't. That's a great question, Sarthik. I think like high school math, which I was a disaster at high school math, which was a perpetual issue in my childhood and still today. I was trying to teach my daughter math this week. Oh my God.
Really?
I had I'm like Googling how to do percentages. My son is like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, are you an idiot? And I was like, pretty much. And I was like, I just kind of ish it. I'm like, I move the decimal point over, and if it's over 20, the only time I really think about percentages is like staffing and tips,
I was gonna say, that's why I love when they have the percent on the receipt that
calculator
has the amount and like loves it. There you go, done.
Okay, so that was Monday.
That's Monday.
Then I got a vice board meeting.
Yes,
love
all
that.
day Tuesday you're in your vice board meeting.
Great.
You have a few one-on-ones on Wednesday morning. Then you have a big 2025 executive alignment thing.
Ooh, that sounds
in the morning.
exciting.
Yeah. You
great.
have
gonna meet with a partner.
A vendor, yep. And then we're filming another episode of the podcast, which will be fun.
Oh God!
Thursday,
then the next day sounds terrible.
It's gonna be kind of a nightmare, and I'm sorry about that. But
Why do you do this to me?
I don't want to do this to you. Yeah, you have a few
700 hours of performance reviews.
Yeah,
okay.
you have a few meetings in the morning. You have you want to talk about the What's Missing for Women thing that we're doing?
Yes, I'm interested in talking to women about what's missing for work. I think there's all these like media outlets and organizations that are like rah-rah, or they create networking, or they add membership, or they do all this stuff. But I actually think we're missing some of the meat of what women need to be successful in the workplace. So I'm doing a forensics exercise and I'd like to find that out. And then I think I have a designer roundtable coming up too.
You do.
Okay.
That
Is it in a different week?
That's in a different week. Yeah.
Well, that sounds exciting, Jessica Rose. I am going to be busy.
Yeah. Very, very, very busy week for you that week.
Okay.
But yeah, exciting
That's
stuff.
exciting.
Awesome.
What is Girl Puppy Babies All Right? From
You
this
added
is-
that. I don't know.
I did not add that. Look at the
That, oh, by Lauren.
What is that? Do you know what it is?
I have no idea.
Let's
Maybe
get
it's
Lauren to
this.
come back here. Girl Puppy Babies All Right. Girl Puppy Babies All Right. Or is it like
it
Girl
that?
Puppy Babies All Right?
Because there's this. I think it
No,
might be
that's not
this.
that.
It's not this. I don't know.
Well, all right. Can you actually go get Lauren and have her come back here? And
I will
tell us
figure
what
that
this
out,
is?
yeah.
No, let's figure it out.
Oh, you want to
here.
figure out right
Yeah,
now?
go
Okay,
get
hold
Lauren.
on. I'll be right
And
back.
I wonder if it's like one of those things where I got invited by accident, like this whole signal texting fiasco with the government. Like Lauren's probably like going out with her friends on Thursday night, and somehow my
So are
name
you
ended
now?
up on it.
Oh, that would be.
Oh, Lauren! Hi, Lauren. Come sit down.
We have a question for you.
Lauren, we have a question for you. How you doing? Don't be nervous.
Like, what did I do
You're good.
a month ago?
Lauren,
Hi.
how's it going?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. Lauren, we have a question, which is, what is Girl Puppy Babies All Right?
Girl.
What is that, Lauren?
Why is it on my calendar? Is it an accident?
What just happened?
Do you know what that is?
Yeah, wait, from
It is like the Atlantic guy. I was telling Sarthik.
not me having hives again.
No. I
I'm
was
just
telling
kidding.
Sarthik this is like the whole signal texting, like we're bombing Yemen and the reporters on there. I think you have a big girls' night out and I'm on there by accident.
I am so embarrassed.
Okay.
I am so.
Is this a you thing?
This is. I don't know how this happened because I was taken off your calendar.
Well, so what is it?
It's a concert.
Oh my God, it really is. I'm on it by accident. Okay, so wait, what is it? What are you doing Thursday? Yeah, we got to Google this.
Girl Puppy Baby's All Right. It's
real
it's a band called Girl Puppy, and it's at Baby's All Right, which is a venue in
Oh,
Brooklyn,
okay.
in Williamsburg.
So who's going?
Myself. I bought a ticket for myself.
How did it end up on my calendar, do you think?
You guys, I want to die.
No, this is amazing. We got to play some Girl Puppy.
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is wild.
Well, so you're going by yourself, or are you going to have a date, or what are you going to do?
No, definitely.
Are we going together?
You want to come?
We are now.
Okay, well, I always buy concert tickets ahead of time because I'm like nervous in New York they're gonna sell out.
Okay.
It's a small show. I usually buy two tickets.
Okay.
'Cause I'll invite someone, but this I just bought for myself. Oh no.
Do it.
I'm like, is this the song you want to listen to?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Oh, shit.
you guys, it's kind of like, I hate it. I don't think, is this it?
Why
It
does
is.
she have teeth like that?
It's kind of
Artistic
like
taste.
Is she a vampire?
sad girl, angry girl, I guess. Oh my god, you guys, I'm dead. Okay, so I have to put it on my calendar so I don't forget.
I understand. I'm a calendar
Yeah.
person, and it just happened to end up on. See, I knew it.
I know, I'm really
I've been staring at that thing.
sorry.
Don't be sorry. I've been staring at that thing forever, and I'm like, I'm like, are we bringing puppies to the office? And if
I don't
so,
think
why
I'll
at
ever
7 o'clock at night? forget
forgive myself for this.
Oh, I love this. We're gonna keep it on there.
How did that happen?
I don't know, but I'm so glad it did.
I have no idea. It says created by you.
Well, we're so go girl puppy.
Go girl puppy. And
I
if you want
agree.
to come, you can come.
I'm good. I'm good.
You're like absolutely
I'm great at a
not.
concert.
Okay, yeah.
All right,
So
well,
that
thanks
was
for
that.
doing that. Okay.
I'm gonna slow walk out of here and crumble.
No, you did a great job.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh my God, that was so fun. Lauren is the best character on this show. Oh, I think it's so great. Don't take it off. It makes me so happy.
Talking to me, so maybe
We'll be there. I'll be there.
wanna come,
No,
Sarah?
I'm not. I'm in
Who wants to
Seattle.
go
I'm
to
in
Girl
Seattle.
Puppy Babies All Right?
Exactly. Someone. Slide into my DM.
Exactly.
Now work.
All right, so welcome to work. This is our podcast about work, and this is a good episode. This episode has a good laugh. All right, we're starting the top of this with tips and tricks. I wore my Bill Belichick sweater today, which has princess sleeves, so you can just imagine it has a rip down the arm. And I have conflicting feelings about Bill Belichick these days because I'm not sure about the girlfriend, like, calisthenics on the beach thing, but I do love Bill Belichick. Anyways, the reason I said that is when I think about Bill Belichick, I used to have Bill Belichick on my license plate. My license plate was NEPBB for New England Patriots, Bill Belichick. I always thought about do your job, like do your job. And it's funny, this week I've had like a bunch of one-on-ones and there's, like people crying and like, what do I do? And, just the feels. There's just like a lot of feeling about work. I think one thing that people underestimate about work is how much feeling people have at work and how consuming that feeling can be. Like, I wish that for all the time everybody spends in their head, in their heart about like, me, if people just did their jobs, everything would be much better at work. Like, there is definitely a time and a place for all the feelings, and all the feelings are so natural and they're expected because you're under pressure. You don't know everything. You have to work with a lot of different people. There are always constraints. There's pressure. There's frustration. There's friction. There's conflict. Like, there's all these things at work that cause emotion. I think the people who do best at work are those people who can just regulate and do their jobs and kind of push out and put out the noise. And so I was thinking a lot about that as we're obviously going through a lot of change and we're embarking on something new and big and exciting. And it's like, just do your job. Like, and if you don't know what your job is at work, like, my greatest piece of advice to anybody who's listening to this or watching this and thinking about work is just find a job to do. If you don't know what your job is, find a job. Just do a job. Get something done. And when you do that and you stop thinking about yourself and you stop having all the feels and you stop giving so much airspace and room for your ego and your insecurity, like, everything just works out because the noise just stops. So that's my biggest piece of advice. That's my first thing. My second thing, which sounds so dumb, I'm embarrassed to say it, but carry a notebook. Like, when your boss or someone senior to you or you're in a meeting trying to get a project done, I don't give a shit if the notes are in AI or it's in Google Notes or it's on Apple or you carry an old school notebook. I'm an old school notebook person. Write the stuff down. I find that if people actually just wrote stuff down when people said it, so much more shit would get done at work. And it is shocking to me how I often will sit in a meeting and somebody will be dropping a lot of knowledge or driving a lot of deliverables or being like, we got to get this, and this done. And nobody's fucking taking notes. It's like amazing to me. So if you're like early in your career or mid in your career and you're like, ooh, hey, self, I'm in a meeting where somebody's sharing something with me that I should remember, or somebody's telling me something that I'm ultimately going to be responsible for or involved in or have to know how to do, don't forget to write it down. So that's my biggest advice there. That's my tips and tricks today.
It's important to write stuff down.
I mean, you got to write stuff down. Or you have to have like a killer AI system where AI writes it down for you and then you remember it. But you can't, when people are like giving you stuff to do, you can't just like be like, zzz, can't be doing that.
Now work.
All right, we're doing current events now.
Yep. We're doing current events. First one is you don't need more time. You just need a deadline.
I
just this
totally
post.
agree. Oh, I love Cody Sanchez. You think Cody Sanchez would ever come on the show? I find her very interesting.
We can try it. Why not? We'll reach out. Hey, Cody, reach out to us.
I think we should just DM her.
Yeah.
All right, Cody Sanchez, who there's zero chance she's listening to this. But
Not yet.
she's interesting. Not yet. Anyways, I like Cody Sanchez because she's funny. She spans a whole lot of different things. She's like female Gary Vee-ish, and then she also talks about her marriage and her partnership a lot. She's an entrepreneur. She's clearly a writer, and she's kind of like how to get shit done at work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she posted this saying you don't
Okay.
need more time, you need a deadline.
I
It's just
totally
a
agree with that. Like,
billboard.
constraint breeds creativity. I don't think she invented that
No,
statement,
yeah,
but I do think that one of the biggest things is that you will always give something the time you have for it. So if you need to get a project done and you have a month, the project's going to take a month. If the same project you only give it a week, in most cases, it's going to be able to get done in a week. Obviously, there's exceptions to that. You have an engineering project, things are sequential, but I think stuff takes up the space you give it, and having a deadline is a great strategy to move things forward. So I'm totally in agreement with Cody Sanchez on that. So the next one is an article in Forbes about why non-linear careers are the future of work. I've read two things on this. I'm going to call it, I think, definitely non-linear careers are the future of work, and we can get into what that means. And then the second is the future of work is not full-time employment. I really do believe, I think people are going to do fractional work, gig work. Like,
I think we talked about that on the last
We talked about
one.
this last time. Like, that's definitely going to happen. I see that happening. I see it happening for myself. It's funny. It's like COVID like brought two realizations. One is, wow, we can all work from home and still get close to the same amount of stuff done. So that kind of changed everything. And then two is, like I'm not constrained by this construct called an office, and the idea that you can work for multiple people at once also kind of came to bear. And then I also think it's happening a little bit in Silicon Valley, where if you look at like Jack Dorsey, to me was the first person I thought about, where he was the CEO of Twitter and he was the CEO of Square. And then you look at like Elon Musk right now, who's like clearly a maniac, but like he's running the government or close to, and he's running Tesla and he's running SpaceX and he's maybe running the Boring Company. So the idea that if your brain and energy have the capacity, you can have multiple jobs. I think that's new. Like, I even look at it like me having this job and doing this podcast and the book and all the other stuff is like, I don't know, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, I would have been like, I don't know if that's appropriate or allowed. And now it's like, I think it's kind of normal. So what's a nonlinear career? A nonlinear career is a career that breaks from the traditional corporate path and allows time for personal exploration or growth. It lets you take your own path. I think that one of the biggest byproducts of a linear career, which is you go to work the week you graduate from college, you work your ass off at some job, you get promoted, maybe you don't get promoted, you go to the next job, you get your badge, you sign in, you get your Slack account, you go to your cube, then you go to the next, then you go to the next, then you go to the next. It's pretty rigid, and you're a little bit of like the hamster on the wheel of like you're in the machine, you're on the subway, or you're commuting, or you're driving in your car. One of the things the article says is that the rigid structure of linear careers often require sacrifices that delay fulfillment. I think this is key, really, because I don't think the people going into the workforce now have had to sacrifice that much. Some have, but I don't think delayed gratification is in vogue. Like, the economy's been great for so long. Parenting makes it so that kids don't want for anything ever or anyhow. And I'm guilty of this, but then these kids show up in the workplace and you're like, fuck it, I want a new car. I want a vacation. I want to go tour the, Southeast Asia for 6 months. They're like, I'm going to do it. But I also, I don't mind that, because I think you learn a lot from that journey, and you're also satiating something in yourself. Like, I actually was on a super linear path. Like, I literally graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started work like the Monday after I graduated, which in hindsight was like fairly stupid, but I also didn't have any money and I had college debt and I really didn't have any other options. and all I wanted to do was work. But I didn't start to realize like, ooh, I'd like to go to Africa, or I'd like to have a week-long vacation where I actually take a vacation, which sounds pathetic, but is true, until I was like in my mid-40s. So I do think the idea that you want to have this whole life and you want to be able to experience and enjoy and explore all these different pieces of you is awesome. I think the quest for meaning is more talked about and more socialized, especially with new generations. And then the other piece of it, which kind of plays into the gig economy, is I think people are disillusioned with what an employer is going to give you. I think my grandparents worked the same place their entire career, and there was the expectation that the company was going to take care of you and provide for you in your retirement. You were going to get a send-off dinner and a plaque. I think people are like, my company is out for my company, and my company is not out for me. And I think that's true. I think companies work for companies. Companies create great opportunities for people. It's a mutual use, mutual benefit environment. Really magical and amazing things can happen in those places. But you got to do what's right for you, and your company's going to do what's right for your company. So I also think people are less willing to sacrifice for the good of the company. And I think that's changing how people think about their priorities.
Speaking of gig economy growing, I think with AI coming into more in use and its capabilities increasing, this news article kind of highlights the recent update that ChatGPT had, where you can create a Studio Ghibli style image by uploading any image. And that kind of has the internet going crazy with a lot of memes, turning memes into Studio Ghibli type images, which is fun and everything is great, but at the same time that brings up the kind of IP conversation and artistic freedom and stealing another artistic work, like which I want to hear your thoughts on that. Like, it's the internet memification is one thing, but then it's someone's art.
Totally.
And
yeah, I mean, I think, are we having a conversation, or
sure,
am I going to? Okay. So I think it's interesting, right? The internet creates memes and trends, right? Like weirdo things take off. The bulky guy dipping his face in Saratoga water 14 times in the morning. Like, who knew that that was going to be a moment? I think Studio Ghibli has been a moment, like that meme of the guy and the girl and the other girl. Like you see that everywhere. Like we used that all the time at Barstool. Like that's how the internet speaks. And I think that's a funny thing about art, is when your art is taken and used by the masses to indicate or mean maybe something else, or to express something else. It's a weird moment for the artist, right? Because you want your work to be recognized, you want your work to be loved, you want your work to be seen, maybe you want your work to make you money. AI has just taken this to a whole new level, which is people aren't taking a Studio Ghibli image and putting a line of text over it. Now they're making
their own
duplicates. Their Studio Ghibli is a style that now anyone on the internet can make. So whose style is it?
It's I mean, the conversation of copyright also comes in.
It's huge. Right? It's huge. So I don't know how AI solves that. You know, it's interesting on the New York Times thing where, you know, New York Times has sued OpenAI because they don't want AI training on their content. Like, I think you've got to protect IP and you have to protect the rights holder. But in an AI world where anything can be recreated, regenerated down to your voice and your image and your style, I really don't know how people will be protected against this.
Yeah, I don't see how it's going to be.
Like, you can't stop you. Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah, these were some of the initial ones. Leo from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I forget what this is in reference.
Where it's like everybody turning to look at the person watching.
Oh yeah, This is from
Oh,
that.
so funny.
From the
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Saratoga
meme
guy.
on a meme on a meme.
It's which is hilarious. Messi
Messi.
winning the FIFA World Cup. Just Matthew McConaughey, I think from that show, HBO show. I'm forgetting the name.
True
of it.
Crime? What was that show?
It's with him and Woody.
Yeah. Shit, I forget. That was a good show.
True Detective.
Yes.
True
okay.
Detective. Margot Robbie from
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall
Yeah.
Street. Yeah, these
Yeah.
are all great, and of course the
Yeah.
looking back, Drake.
Yeah, I think.
But this is what what's his name? Hayao Miyazaki, the founder of Ghibli, Studio Ghibli,
Yeah.
had said in 2016, I strongly feel that this is an insult to life itself about AI, particularly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's an insult to life itself, but I think we are only at the beginning of this problem, and I don't know how you police it. This is the core issue of AI. Like once you start the flame, I don't even know how you police it. How do you police progress? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's on one hand, it's like so great for creativity in the form of like, oh, I want to create something that looks like this, but I want to create something that the artist would never think about
Yes.
creating in that style. So that way, it's like new creativity is like flourishing. But the other hand, you're like, okay, but this is not your work. The style, the hard work that went into creating that style.
Everything is reductive. Like everything is derivative. And I actually think that's going to be originality is going to become so precious.
Yeah.
Because everything is derivative. I actually think that's the biggest
I think that's the biggest
here.
takeaway from it.
That's my biggest takeaway. Everything, I read a really interesting thing the other day on there is a difference between content and culture.
Mm-hmm.
And content and culture are not the same thing. And people are mistaking, because there's so much content, that content is culture. And culture itself is quite different. And I actually think this is a little bit like this. Like, there's more. Now everybody has a Studio Ghibli look, right? Like, you can do my head on there. You can do your head on there. We can do Food 52. You could do Schoolhouse in there. You could do a lamp on there. Like,
Yeah.
but that's not original work. It's just, it's actually, it's like words. It's like you're just part of a conversation. It's how the internet talks.
Yeah, it is.
And
how
you're
the
just
internet
actually
talks.
in the conversation. So the internet is talking right now with a guy diving into the pool at 7:04 a.m. Like, you're saying, I know, I'm in the conversation, I'm in your culture. So that's actually all that's happening, is people are just sharing it to converse. It's not actually art.
like-
It's not art anymore.
Yeah, it's like, I also know. Just
It's if you know, you know.
if you know, you know.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Which is like, if you know, you know, that rules the internet. The last current event is we are reading a Time article that is about why everyone is so tired at work. Apparently, everyone is tired at work. And what the reason people are tired at work has everything to do with their manager. So the authors, who are both post-industrial organizational psychologists, that's actually a funny title, argue that traditional wellness initiatives like step challenges and yoga sessions are often ineffective. Instead, they emphasize that leadership behavior plays a crucial role in employee well-being. Leaders who exhibit vulnerability and authenticity foster trust, creating environments where employees feel safe to share challenges and receive meaningful support. The article suggests that organizations should focus on cultivating these leadership qualities to enhance engagement and productivity. Look, I think if you're tired at work, it means you're not into work. You're either partying your brains out, or you went to girl, puppy, baby last night. Or it means you're either tired because you're tired, or you're tired because you went out too much, or you didn't get enough sleep, or your roommate was up all night, or your cat was bothering you at midnight, or whatever, or you're just not that into your job. Like, you're not motivated, you're not into it. And I agree with the post-industrial organizational psychologists. that a lot of that tiredness probably has to do with A, what you're working on, and B, what your manager is like. And when you look at people's jobs and how they feel about their jobs, those are the two biggest drivers. Like, do you respect your manager? Does your manager inspire you? Does your manager encourage you to be part of something bigger than yourself? Do they give you meaty things to work on? Do they trust you? Do they respect you? And also, do you like the work that you're doing? Like, you're managing TPS reports and ticket systems. Like, you know what? If I managed ticket systems at work all day, I'd be fucking tired too. So I think one reason people are tired is because they're not into it, or they're lazy and they don't want to be into it and they're holding themselves back, or you're working for someone who doesn't motivate you. But at the end of the day, it's your day. So if you want to spend your day being tired and like, ugh, and, you know, have malaise for what you do, I think it's a waste of your day. And I think it's a total waste of your time. So it's also a choice. And you might be like, I hate my manager. I hate this job. I hate what I do all day. I want to go make a change and tour the world, or, you know, make AI anime all day. Like, I don't know. That's what people should do. So I think the one thing I don't like is if people are tired at work, yes, the company should think about, is the company doing something that would cause that? But it's ultimately the employee's responsibility. Like, if you're going to show up with a piss poor attitude and be like, I hate this, I don't want to do anything, then you know what? That's like, you're wasting your time. And that's what, you know, that's my biggest thing is like, just don't waste your time.
Now work.
All right, we're back with generational knowledge. We have Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for doing this.
Of course.
I always love when we film this because there's some unsuspecting soul that gets dragged back here. And then we just ask you a bunch of uncomfortable questions. So our question for you, Kelly, today on generational knowledge. So first, can I ask how old you are?
I am 30.
You're 30. Everyone
am.
is 30 here. That's so fun. Okay, as a 30-year-old professional, Kelly, how do you maintain a professional demeanor on client calls? What's your approach?
That's a great question. I think on getting a read quickly on who you're talking to is important. You know, if you're in a room with somebody who, and it also depends on the client, it depends on the industry, I think that's very important as well. I think you have to get a read on them and make a decision very quickly of how you're going to approach the conversation. So if it's age is not always an indicator. I have been on client calls where somebody's in their 60s and they're the most hilarious, fun person in the room and just want to chit chat, whereas a 25-year-old on the call is all business. So age is not always an indicator. But I think opening up, starting off, seeing if there's an anecdote you can throw in there, ask a question about the weather, where they're based. Those are great ways to get a read on someone, and then you just kind of build the conversation from there. So if they seem like they want to chat a little bit to warm up, do that. If they seem like they want to get straight to it, do that. Just kind of reading the room, I would say.
Ooh, okay. I don't think there's a much generational difference on that. I agree with that. I think the greatest success to a client call is you have to put yourself in the mindset of what does your client want. I think a lot of times when salespeople or people get on a call, they tend to talk about them. I've been guilty of this. You tend to talk about yourself, your business, what you want, what you're doing, and you miss the why is this person on the other line? And you've got to reframe, or you have to frame everything you're doing to be in the mindset of that person. I think that's actually the hardest skill is forget what you want. What is it that they want?
100%.
And how do you deliver them? So to me, I agree. I don't think really it's an age thing because you can be on the phone with a bitchy 20-something or a super friendly 40-something. It has nothing to do with being 20 or being 40. It's more the DNA of the person, what they're
100%.
dealing with, how they're approaching things. So I agree with that. Do you find that you tailor your voice or your demeanor differently if someone based on age?
Yes. Also on vibe. And I love the word vibe because I think it's kind of all encapsulating. It might age me a little bit, but I'm on the border
Do you think
between.
vibe is an old word to use?
No, I mean like it'll make
you
me younger.
young?
Yeah, sometimes.
Well, actually,
it depends.
I'm sorry, I have to pause here. Let's just talk about vibe. I hate the word vibe.
What? I love the word.
I think vibe is just like smushy.
It is holistic. It is a very holistic
It's like
word.
vibes. I had a one-on-one with someone the other day who was like, I just bring good vibes. And I'm like, that's not a job. Like,
That's true.
it's important. It's a good thing to do, but I actually think this is a big generational difference. I think the 30 and under set is like vibes is
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Also, vibes is a millennial term. So, like, even Gen Z, like, it would age you saying vibes to a Gen Z, like, or Gen Alpha that's after. They'd
They'd be like, that's old.
That's old. Yeah. Saying vibes,
Yeah.
like.
See,
the
this
young-
is where I think the 40s people and the 20-year-olds are actually like super aligned.
Yeah.
And the group in the middle is vibing.
Millennials are just doing their best. That's what I always feel. I mean, I'm on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z. So,
Okay.
like, I mean, kind of. I call myself a zillennial because I'm less meme forward than maybe some older millennials, but I have no idea what Gen Z are
Oh,
doing.
okay. So you don't talk in memes?
I do definitely talk in memes.
Oh,
but
you
just not
do
doing-
talk
oh,
in
yeah,
memes.
100%. But I think
So sorry, when you like text your friends, you're like sending gifs?
no, but I don't use punctuation in text messages. I'm LOL all over the place. Like,
Okay.
I had a younger cousin who once said to me that millennials love a scarf. She's a Gen Zer, and that was her big differentiating point, was that millennials wear scarves and Gen Z don't.
Interesting.
That was crazy. to me.
Millennials wear scarves and Gen Zs don't.
I just started wearing a scarf, so.
But think about it. Yeah, seriously.
I wear scarves, I guess.
Yeah.
But to piggyback on what you were saying, though, I do think
Sorry.
the vibe thing, to keep going where we're going, I think having great vibes is very important in a role. And I think, being able to be someone that you can work with is important. But you have to be able to do your job as well.
Yes, I
and I
agree.
do think there is a balance to be struck. Like, I've worked with some of the best people I've ever met, but they weren't fantastic at their job. And then it makes everyone's job harder. So it's like, you might be a great person, we love you as a person, but maybe you're not the best team player because
Yeah.
of that. And
Yeah.
I think that is a differentiation.
I agree. I think if you are in a client-facing role, vibes really matter.
Yeah.
Vibes matter. So I don't want to say that vibes don't matter. Vibes matter. My thing is vibes matter, but being great at your job matters more. Like, you're
100%.
willing to put up with a lot from someone who's maybe more brusque or maybe more all about business, or if they're really good at their job.
I completely agree. I've worked with some editors in the past who are difficult people to work with, but they're so good at what they do.
Yeah,
that
you put up with it. You're like, I put
which-
up with it.
It'd be great if we could all be in the middle, right?
Yeah.
But that's just not realistic, and it's
Yeah.
not how people go. But on a client call, it's very important to, again, just coming back to that, reading the vibe.
Yep.
sort of
Okay.
thing.
And so how do you tailor, like, if I'm talking to somebody who's younger or older, I tend to say less and get more formal if somebody's older than me. Do you do that?
100%. If I get on a call and somebody just kind of, and it is an age thing, in this regard at first, I'll approach the, I guess, intro a little bit more formally if they're a little older. If they're younger, I mean, I've been on client calls where they're younger than me, which is only starting now to happen as I age. And that's...
You're very old.
Because I'm really old. And that's kind of off-putting at first, or at least it certainly was when I first started doing it, because it's like, okay, but you're younger than me now, how do I... And that took me a while to kind of figure out, how do I speak to you differently than I would someone who's in their 50s or 60s. I've been doing this for 40 years. And I think it's that same thing of like I said, I'm on the cusp of millennial and Gen Z, so you do change. Even the way you speak, your speech patterns change, and then the way you structure the call changes. You might go in and start off with like, I like to bring up the fact that I'm Irish, because sometimes it can spark a connection
Yeah, it just
somewhere.
makes it friendly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll often do that regardless of age, but the way that I say it is different.
Yeah.
I won't be all, hey, how's it going? How are you? Like,
Yeah.
I'll be like, hi, how are you doing? Like, and
Yeah.
your tone of voice almost shifts.
You get a
when
little
you're
higher
talking.
pitched.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, my second question for you is, how do you manage a client or a coworker, let's do coworkers too, that just wants to chat and vibe and not focus on the work? Like, what do you do with that?
That's such a good question. I'm a yapper. I
Okay.
love a chat, but I'm also like very deadline driven, and a lot of
Okay.
the work I do is deadline driven. Especially when you're on a client call, you have 30 minutes, usually sometimes less, to get the point across. I think there's time and place, especially, I mean, it's a little different client versus coworker. With a client, you certainly cannot be rude in any way, and you cannot really cut them off. But and this is from interviewing too, I think I've done like a lot of market research, there's a way to steer the conversation back that's not, okay, enough of that now, back to business.
Yeah.
There's a way to be like, do you know what, that made me think of, and then you kind of start the conversation down a road where you can start talking about what you intended to originally. With coworkers, it's a little different because you can be a little bit more blunt with your coworker. Like, you've seen those memes, to go back to memes, with the sign that people stick to the back of their chair that says, please don't talk to me, I'm a yapper, but I have work to do. Like, leave me alone. I want to talk, but I can't. Like, I feel like you can be funny about it with a coworker. Just be like, this is a great conversation, I'm having a great time, I have 20 minutes to get this in, like, I need to stop talking. And then also just removing yourself from your desk sometimes helps as well in that regard.
Or do you put like headphones in?
I can't listen to music and work.
Okay.
I need like, I can, ambient sounds are fine, but like I can't. Yeah. And I don't need perfect silence either, but.
What's it called? Isn't that there the thing where you put the headphones in and you carry your computer around? It's like a fake work thing. Task masking. That was one of our words.
This. Yeah. I actually just read this on the podcast. funnily
Yeah.
enough.
I didn't know about that. Okay, I agree with that. I had this discussion when I went home last night because I was like, well, I got a bunch of yappers in my neighborhood in my new cube life. And then I'm like, maybe I'm a yapper, because then Sarthik shows up at work and I just want to talk to Sarthik. I think it's a hard thing because you want a feeling of camaraderie.
Yes.
You want to create connection. People want to know each other as human beings. And it's rapport. That's like part of what makes working in the office fun. And like, that's part of it. I think everything's like a ratio, you know what I mean? Of like, okay, 15 to 20% of the total time, like that's great. And then you got to move to the 75 to 80 to 90% of the time. So I'm balancing this right now.
I think that's what a job is, though. I think it can't exist if your head's down working all the time. That's not a fantastic mindset always to be in.
Yeah.
I think the collaboration comes from, like, some of the ideas we've come up with because we're yapping. We'll be like talking about some trend that's happening and, oh, that would actually be really good for this client.
Yeah,
and that
exactly.
happens a lot.
Yep.
And so I think it's really important. But as you say, like, there is a balance to be found. And sometimes striking that balance can be tricky for some people.
Yep.
And then you don't want to end up having to stay in the office till 8 p.m. because
exactly.
you talked all day.
Yeah,
Like, you know,
exactly.
so
Yep, exactly.
It's time management, really, I think, at the end of the day.
Yep. Awesome. All right, Kelly, that was great. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
This
I
was so
appreciate
fun.
it. Awesome.
Now work.
So now we're into our teaching segment. What we got to find some teachers to come in here. Every time I get a teacher to come onto this thing, then we just end up talking about something else. So, all right. So teaching segment, we have a really fabulous woman who is joining us. Her name is Kelly, and she is going to be our generational knowledge person. But Kelly works as part of our brand partnerships group. So we thought we would talk about what do brand partnerships do. So brand partnerships is actually a new word. I used to call it advertising sales, and I think maybe the salespeople don't like to be called salespeople anymore, so they call it brand partnerships. Brand partnerships, a brand partnerships team is the team that sells what your company has, which is usually in the media space. So they sell content or podcasts or articles or banner ads or newsletters or data or other products to advertisers and brands. That's why it's called brand partnerships. So typically in a media company, you're selling air or space and eyeballs. So you're selling a vehicle, which is the thing that the person is reading, watching, listening to, engaging with, going to, attending. You could be selling your customer yourself. You could be selling your customer themselves, which we don't do here, but there's a lot of companies that sell data. And a brand partnerships team is a team that's comprised of a whole bunch of roles. So the first type of role is the salesperson, right? That's the person calling. They have relationships. They know people. They're like, hey, Nestle, here's a thing. We've got this idea. We're creating this program for moms. You should be a part of it. You could be the exclusive sponsor of it. You could integrate your new chocolate into it, blah, 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 blah. So those are the salespeople. The salespeople have the most lucrative job. They also have the hardest job, and they also face the most risk. So a salesperson is typically paid on commission, which means they make some base salary, and then they make some incentive if they hit their goals in terms of how much money they bring in. salespeople have hard jobs. Salespeople take a lot of shit. People assume salespeople are stupid. They're not. And salespeople are typically very gregarious and outgoing and kind of pushy, and they like to be with people and they network and they spend time out. So I have a huge amount of respect for salespeople. The second role is what we typically called account managers, and these are the people who work right up next to the salesperson. Now, shit rolls downhill, and the account manager does all the dirty work that the salesperson doesn't want to do. So really great salespeople tend to come from account management and move into sales, so they know how to do all the stuff. They know how to book the advertising. They know how to get a campaign live. They know how to manage all the back and forth with a customer. Versus a salesperson who's out like having a cocktail lunch. So account managers are the people who get all the heavy lifting done. They are typically junior. They're younger, they're newer in their roles, they're greener, and they make less money than the salespeople. But they also don't have the pressure that a salesperson has because they don't get fired if they don't hit their quota. Account managers are like the backbone of a sales team, and a great account manager can go do anything with their career. Then you have a group that is, this is how I cut my teeth, is, you know, they're called go-to-market people, or they might be called brand strategy. These are the people that are coming up with the ideas. These are the people who are saying, hey, Nestle wants to do this, or Lowe's wants to do this, and we have this thing over here, and this is how we're going to put the two together so what we have makes sense for Lowe's. They typically know how to write. They also spend a lot of time selling. They're very good at making presentations, and they are responsible for really building the idea that somebody ultimately buys. And then you have a bunch of other groups like ops, and I would really bucket it as ops. And these are the people that when the buy comes in, you execute the buy, you implement the insertion order, you make sure the billing works, you make sure everyone gets all of their creative assets, you make sure everybody does what they're supposed to do on time and on budget. And then the campaign runs. So that's a brand partnerships group.
Now work.
All right, we're doing Strategery. Our Strategery today is moving the needle. So moving the needle is a phrase that likely originated from the indicator needles on measuring instruments like speedometers or gauges, where the movement of the needle indicated change or progress or speed. So when someone says they're going to move the needle, they're going to make progress on something. And technically this means to cause a measurable or noticeable improvement, progress, or change. And typically, move the needle is used to describe actions or strategies that are expected to have substantial impact. I don't know, move the needle. We're going to move the needle. I don't know if I say move the needle or not. I think move the needle is like a fast way of being like, hey, we got to make some progress. We got to get this thing down the field. I tend to use more sports analogies of like, we got to get down the field. Like we've got to move yards or whatever. But I think move the needle, it isn't a cringy strategery word. I think it probably is cringy if you say it and then you don't ever move the needle, which I do think there's probably a high percentage of people who don't move anything who say move the needle. And I think that's actually an interesting thing at work is I think there could be this whole bucket of strategery words for the people who just push paper around and use strategery words. I think people who really do want to make something happen using the phrase move the needle is just a way of saying hey, we're going to get from X to Y, and this is where we are with X, and this is what Y looks like, and let's go get there.
Now work.
All right, so my parting thought is, one thing I'm asking at work is how much time people spend talking about the thing or talking about doing the thing versus how much time doing the thing. And I think it's a good check yourself, wreck yourself kind of moment of am I just talking about doing the thing or am I doing the thing? So this morning I have this crazy idea and I'm pretty bullish on it and I'm excited about it, and I'm having a lot of conversations about the thing, about the idea of the thing. And then I was like, shit, I gotta open up my Google Docs and like start writing a proposal. Or this morning I had a call with someone in the Middle East, and, you know, like I'm in my commute to work and I'm like, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to like take the train and walk a mile and get on the ferry with me. And the woman was like, you're crazy. But I really wanted to pitch my idea, and I really wanted this person's feedback. And I got off the call and I was like, that was mildly embarrassing that I had to take this person and like my face is up in the phone and I'm with my hat on. But then I was like, that's doing the thing. You know, like that's spending time doing the thing. I'm not talking about doing the thing. I'm not talking about doing the thing. I'm not thinking about what would I say if I were saying it about the thing. I was like, fuck it. I'm just like on this call. I'm on this Zoom, walking to the ferry, pitching my little heart out on this idea that I think could be really amazing. That's doing the thing. So my encouragement would be like, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, am I like stuck in my career? Or am I lost in my place? Or, you know, do I not know what the future looks like? Or am I not clear on what my job is? If you just do the thing and you just find something to do and you just do it instead of talking about doing it, it really will create so much more fulfillment for you and so much more progress. So that's my parting thoughts. Thank you for listening. If you are still listening after all this, you could give us a rating, a review, or a subscription. We would appreciate it. And we'll see you back here next week.